When Walker was a teenager, he attended Custer's Grove High School, where he also met Lamar Hoskins and a woman named Olivia. Walker was the captain of the football team, although he would fail drama class. Eventually, he would marry Olivia and joined the United States Army with Hoskins. Having graduated from the United States Military Academy in 2010, Walker went on to have a successful career in the United States Army, performing numerous acts of valor. He became the first person in American history to receive 3 Medals of Honor and led RS-1 missions in counterterrorism and hostage rescue. During one of his tours, he fought alongside Christina Rayner. Despite these honors, Walker had considered these days in Afghanistan to be the worst of his and Lamar Hoskins' lives. In the months following the retirement of Steve Rogers, the American government became aware of its need for a new symbolic hero to take his place. Sam Wilson, who had been trusted to become the next Captain America by Rogers himself, donated the symbolic Captain America's shield to the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C., feeling that he could not fulfill Rogers' legacy. The shield was quickly into custody of the United States Department of Defense and given to Walker, who was nominated for his extensive military career. Shortly after receiving approval from the president, Walker was unveiled to the world and announced as the new Captain America by a government official, on the behalf of the Global Repatriation Council and the United States Department of Defense. Following his appointment, Walker began attending various meetings with government officials and made speeches as Captain America, duties that he did not express any genuine interest in. Fanfare about Captain America's return to the modern-day world was established soon after Walker was chosen to take on the mantle, making him not only a superhero, but a celebrity in the process. In preparation for another interview with Good Morning America, Walker returned to his hometown of Custer's Grove, Georgia. Prior to his interview, he and his wife Olivia Walker reminisced of their past in high school, back when Walker played as captain of the high school football team, before expressing nervousness about not living up to the expectations of the Captain America mantle. While practicing his opening lines for his upcoming interview, Walker was joined by Lamar Hoskins, who acknowledged how their lives had suddenly changed as they became celebrity superheroes, when they were only preparing for a special ops mission in Chile weeks earlier. Walker made clear to Hoskins that the main reason he wanted to take up the mantle of Captain America was to better serve his country, not participate in meetings with senators or rallies. When it came time for the interview, Walker ran out to the high school football stadium, signing autographs on Captain America posters and action figures. Walker ran triumphantly onto the stage for his interview with Sarah Haynes of Good Morning America. During the interview, a rundown of Walker's military career was televised, and that he excelled in all of the trials that the United States Army put him through in preparation for taking on the Captain America mantle. Walker expressed that he had big shoes to fill and looked up to Steve Rogers as an idol, following his career closely while he was an Avenger. When Falcon and Winter Soldier traveled to Munich to investigate the anti-nationalist group known as the Flag Smashers, Captain America and Battlestar hacked into Red Wing to track their location, which ended up being destroyed by Karli Morgenthau. Arriving as reinforcements by helicopter while Falcon and Barnes were engaged in a fight on top of 2 speeding trucks carrying medical supplies, Captain America used his shield to incapacitate Davich before he could kill Falcon, and then, with Battlestar's help, knock Morgenthau off balance and onto the side of the speeding truck before she could attack Barnes. Captain America and Battlestar introduced themselves personally to Falcon and Barnes, to their annoyance despite having rescued them from the Flag Smashers. Morgenthau got to her feet once again, but Captain America threw his shield at her, knocking her and another Flag Smasher down. The two were not able to hold themselves off for long, as Battlestar was quickly outmatched due to the enhanced strength the Flag Smashers possessed. Captain America used his handgun to shoot one of the Flag Smashers restraining Battlestar, but this allowed Morgenthau to roundhouse kick Captain America onto the edge of the truck, holding on for his life. After Falcon was forced to rescue Barnes, sweeping him to safety but into a field, Captain America used his shield to save Battlestar from being injured by his fall by throwing it onto the road and under his body. As the enhanced super soldiers recovered, Captain America climbed back onto the truck and prepared to engage Morgenthau in combat once again. Due to her enhanced strength, she made quick work of Captain America, and the impact of her punches threw him into the traffic behind them, with Captain America's fall being cushioned by the windshield of a passing car. As the Flag Smashers made their escape, Walker met up with Lamar Hoskins again and arranged for Gary to pick them up for a ride to the airport. En route, they passed by the defeated Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes, who were hiking to the runway. When Walker offered them a ride, Wilson and Barnes coldly refused, despite Walker suggesting that the four must unite and work together to defeat their common enemy. When Barnes coldly announced to Walker that because he carried the shield did not mean he was Captain America, Walker argued that he had put in the effort and hard work during his time with the United States Army required for the position, and jumped on a grenade 4 times in an act of valor. Wilson and Barnes reluctantly accepted Walker's offer for a ride. Walker, having made the same assumption as Wilson that the Flag Smashers were all super soldiers, explained that he and Hoskins came to their rescue by using Red Wing to track their location. Walker explained that the Global Repatriation Council managed resources for blipped refugees, and that he and Hoskins were assigned to assist them on behalf of the United States. Walker furthermore explained that he was not trying to be a direct copy of Steve Rogers, but someone who was trying to make a name for himself and become his own person. While Walker tried to sympathize with Wilson and Barnes by saying that he understood why they felt opposed to him bearing the shield, Wilson coldly retorted to Walker that he was not in support of him once Walker said that he wanted the support of Rogers' wingmen. Set aback and dismayed by Wilson's rejection of his offer, Walker told Gary to continue driving to the airport, returning to America. When Bucky Barnes was taken into custody in Baltimore, Maryland for not appearing to his mandated court therapy session, Walker reached out to the Baltimore police station and arranged for Barnes to be freed. At the station, he was reunited with Christina Rayner, Barnes' assigned therapist and Walker's former military comrade. Walker explained that he arranged for Barnes' therapy sessions to come to an end, citing that Barnes was too valuable an asset to be forced to comply with such rigid schedules. Walker then waited outside with Lamar Hoskins for Barnes' session to finish. Barnes and Sam Wilson left the precinct. They met with Walker and Hoskins, who further insisted that they should work together. Reluctantly, Wilson listened to Walker, who provided them with news that Carly Morgenthau was the leader of the Flag Smashers, having geotagged their location throughout Europe, and tracking the stolen shipment of medical supplies. Barnes haughtily put down Walker's new information, conceitedly questioning Walker if he had any more relevant information. Before Barnes and Walker could continue, Wilson intervened and alleviated the tension by acknowledging that Walker was right. However, Wilson informed Walker that they had no interest in working with them, since they operated as freelance operatives as opposed to being contracted by the government with specific authorizations put in place. Begrudged, Walker left Wilson and Barnes one final word of advice to stay out of their way. Walker's investigation led him back to Munich, Germany, in search for answers as to the whereabouts of the Flag Smashers. Working in conjunction with the Global Repatriation Council and GSG 9 der Bundespolizei, Walker launched a police raid on the 1337 Connect Internet Cafe. Walker arrived at the scene with the federal police to announce his search for Carly Morgenthau. Walker interrogated Rudy, the owner of the cafe, who challenged Walker's incursion on his business. Walker asked Lamar Hoskins to be a translator and serve as the median for the questioning, but Rudy was non-compliant, saying that Americans were brutes. Annoyed, Walker sternly asked Rudy, knowing that they had harbored the Flag Smashers, to which Rudy spit in Walker's face in response. Infuriated and disrespected, Walker resorted to physical violence by pushing him against a wall, asking if he understood who he was. Rudy retorted he did, but didn't care, as he had no influence over him. As he wiped the spit off his face, Walker was only suppressed by his own limitations and Hoskins saying there was no point in continuing to question him, that Walker left the building with no new information. With no new leads from the George Bush Center for Intelligence in Langley, Walker realized that they would have to shadow Falcon and Winter Soldier for new leads. When the terrorist mastermind Helmut Zemo escaped from a correctional facility in Berlin, Captain America and Battlestar were assigned to question the staff and reviewed the security footage. Learning that Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes visited Zemo the day he escaped, Captain America hypothesized that they were involved in the breakout, but with no evidence to support. As Captain America was also desperate for leads, Captain America convinced Battlestar to continue investigating their activities, although it would go against their contractual obligations. Battlestar objected that Captain America was attempting to procure this information through corrupt off-the-book means, to which Captain America retorted that their superiors would not question them on their methods once they turned up with new information and got the job done. Captain America and Battlestar went to Riga, Latvia, and found Sam Wilson, Bucky Barnes, and Helmut Zemo in the streets. They joined them to the location of Danya Madani's funeral, where Captain America then handcuffed Zemo to a wall, while Wilson went inside the room to talk to Carly Morgenthau. Walker then taunted Barnes about the super soldier serum inside of him before breaking into the room, disrupting Wilson's efforts. He then proceeded to announce that Morgenthau was under arrest. Feeling betrayed by Wilson, Morgenthau kicked Captain America over and Wilson back into a table and fled the room, to which Captain America was temporarily down while Barnes chased Morgenthau. Captain America recovered as Morgenthau was shot by Zemo, and in their small scuffle, he began destroying her serum vials one by one. Upon finding Zemo destroying serum vials, Captain America threw the shield at him, knocking him out. However, Captain America found one serum vial left, to which he picked it up and put it inside one of his pockets, before Hoskins, Wilson, and Barnes found him. Captain America and Battlestar barged into Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes' room in Latvia and demanded that Helmut Zemo be handed over to them before the Dora Milaje made their presence known, throwing a vibranium spear at a column that narrowly missed Captain America. Ao, Namble, and Yama arrived to arrest Zemo themselves. Captain America introduced himself to Ao and told her that they did not have jurisdiction in Latvia, to which she responded that they did wherever they pleased. In an effort to get them to leave, Captain America attempted to alleviate any tension by putting his hand on Ao's armor, only for her to knock him back and into the spear. Captain America grabbed the shield and fought back against her and the others, although after getting the shield stuck on a table, Yama took his shield away from him, only for Ao to tell her to leave it there, before they left. Captain America was left, humiliated, and commented that they were not super soldiers. At a Latvian shopping district, Walker was reassured by Lamar Hoskins that although Baron Zemo destroyed the super soldier serum and Wilfred Nagel was dead, their loss was not for naught, although Hoskins did not realize Walker had a vial of Nagel's serum in his possession. During their discussion, two of Walker's fans approached him to sign his autograph on their Captain America poster. Walker showed camaraderie to his partner by teasing him that he was jealous the two fans didn't ask him for an autograph, although Hoskins retorted that it was their loss, by saying that he had a custom Battlestar logo sketched out. Deliberating whether or not to take the serum, Walker asked Hoskins if he would have taken it given the opportunity. Hoskins explained he would have without hesitation, going on to say that the serum only amplifies the traits that of which the person already had, and went on to put a spotlight on Walker's numerous acts of valor that won him 3 Medals of Honor, and that he was a seasoned strategist, having consistently made the optimal decisions during battle. Walker reflected on the worst day of his life, reminiscing of a tour in Afghanistan in which Walker resorted to cruel actions in which he regretted. Recognizing that what he did was not right, Walker came out to say that he finally felt he was doing something right for his country once he was picked to be the next Captain America. Inspired by this conversation, and having previously shamed himself for being defeated by the Dora Milaje and being looked down upon condescendingly by Falcon and Winter Soldier, Walker ingested the serum, granting him enhanced abilities. While searching for Battlestar, Captain America reunited with Falcon, who were subsequently ambushed by a group of Flag Smashers, including Nico and Davidge. During the fight, Captain America was suddenly suppressed from behind by Nico, and was restrained until Carly Morgenthau arrived, running at Captain America and preparing to kill him by stabbing him in the chest with her knife. However, Captain America's fate was averted by none other than Battlestar, who freed himself from his restraints and tackled Morgenthau. Captain America could only watch helplessly as Morgenthau quickly overpowered Battlestar, punching him hard enough to hurl him against a stone column, breaking his spine and killing him instantly. Captain America quickly ran to the aid of his partner, realizing that it was too late, and he had already died. With little time to mourn, he watched Morgenthau and the remaining Flag Smashers flee, as did Falcon and Winter Soldier. A now enraged Captain America jumped through a window and onto a car, looking for any straggling Flag Smashers. Captain America turned to see a fleeing Nico, the same person who restrained Captain America with the intention to have him killed, and the same person who held him behind from intervening to help Battlestar, although playing no direct part in his death. Furious, he demanded to know where Morgenthau went. The fleeing Nico hurled a cinder block at Captain America, who simply deflected it with his shield. Captain America finally caught up with and subdued Nico with multiple strikes from the shield before stepping on his chest to prevent him escaping. Cornered and terrified, Nico begged for his life, insisting he had not killed Battlestar. Ignoring Nico's pleas, Captain America proceeded to viciously beat him to death with the shield in a fit of blind rage. Captain America quickly realized that he had murdered him in front of many bewildered witnesses and onlookers who video recorded the incident. Among the crowd included several of his fans, along with Morgenthau, Falcon, and Barnes. In anguish over Battlestar's death, Captain America ran away from the scene and to an abandoned warehouse, distraught of what to do without his best friend and angered over his recent decisions. In deep mourning, Captain America admonished himself for not listening to his friend before, and began regretting ambushing the Flag Smashers, which Battlestar had advised against. Shortly, Captain America was confronted by Falcon and Winter Soldier, who had followed him into warehouse. Despite his attempts to reason with them, rationalizing that he did what he had to do and that he justly avenged Battlestar by killing Nico, although he was not actually Battlestar's killer, as Captain America had been convincing himself that Nico, not Karli Morgenthau, had killed Battlestar in an attempt to deny his mistake of killing the wrong Flag Smasher. Falcon attempted to persuade Captain America to abandon his violent path and hand over the shield, explaining that the United States of America would now have an incentive to consider his record. As Barnes said that they would even if they have to by force, Captain America then engaged in a fierce fight with them, using his shield, enhanced physical prowess and combat skills to fight them off. As he easily overwhelmed Falcon, he found Barnes to be a much more formidable opponent as he disarmed him of his pistol and persistently pushed him back, but eventually overpowered Barnes, sending him flying and knocking him out temporarily, disabling his vibranium arm. Captain America then engaged Falcon, hitting his blows with the shield. However, after Captain America lost grip of the shield and it was separated from him, he and Falcon ran after it. The bloodthirsty Captain America tackled Wilson violently and recovered the shield. After Captain America had knocked Falcon to the ground, he yanked his helmet off and furiously proclaimed that he was Captain America, before ripping off Falcon's EX-07 Falcon wings. Using his newfound abilities, Captain America set the damaged wingsuit aside and prepared to kill Falcon. However, before Captain America was able to deliver a killing blow on Falcon, Barnes had recovered and tackled Captain America down, saving Falcon. Despite Barnes once again proving himself to be a dangerous opponent and suffering hits, Captain America was able to pin him down and attempted to kill him using the shield, but Barnes was able to hold him at bay long enough for Falcon to get the opening he needed. Falcon was able to grab hold of Captain America's hand and struggled for the shield. Falcon and Barnes were able to overpower Captain America enough to rip the shield from his hand, breaking his arm in the process. Despite this, Captain America was still able to get up, but without his shield and prepared for a final brawl. With a broken arm, he was no match for the seasoned fighting abilities of Winter Soldier, who quickly blocked his punch and dealt a blow to the face before finally decisively defeating him by manhandling him and allowing Falcon to deliver the finishing blow on him. This knocked Captain America unconscious and defeated, having just had the shield taken from him. Upon his return to the United States, Walker was subjected to a hearing at the United States Capitol for Nico's unjust murder in Latvia. Upon arriving for his testimony via vehicle escort, he walked up the Capitol's front steps alongside his wife Olivia Walker and two armed soldiers as a crowd of reporters and angry civilians booed him. Arriving at the testimony, the government official and members of the U.S. Congress announced that he would be discharged from the United States Army and stripped of his military rank as captain, and declared on order of the U.S. Senate that the mantle of Captain America would be taken away from him, and all authority that came with it. Calm and collected, Walker responded to the council's decision by asking for permissions to explain the circumstances of the mission, attempting to use Battlestar's death as a way to rationalize and excuse his actions. The government official showed no sympathy and rejected Walker's pleas, explaining to the defiant Walker that the council decided against a court-martial for him due to his previous exemplary service. Walker attempted again to gain the affinity of the council, but the government official retorted that the hearing was not a negotiation. Walker grew increasingly frustrated as the official shut down his attempts to speak and repeatedly objected that the hearing was a mandate. Walker lost his temper and raised his voice to the council, admonishing their decision by explaining that his life had revolved around the U.S. government's mandates that had been enforced on him throughout his entire career. Attempting to appease the council of his record as an exemplary and highly decorated soldier, Walker contended while invoking vehemently on his sentiment that he only ever did what the U.S. military had asked of him in combat and in his rigorous training, obediently carrying their tasks out to completion. The council remained unimpressed, and the government official merely continued on reading out the Senate's official judgment and finalizing his dischargement. Learning he will also not receive VA benefits, Walker self-righteously retorted that the military made him what he was, and that he was the embodiment of Captain America, believing he exemplifies everything Steve Rogers' legacy amounted to. The council dismissed Walker, threatening him with imprisonment in the United States disciplinary barracks if he was to continue chastising their decision, noting that he was very fortunate he was not punished otherwise. Infuriated and disgraced by their decision, Walker turned his back on the council and exited the hearing, ignoring their request to swiftly return Captain America's shield to them, although it was no longer in his possession. With the hearing over, Walker sat on a bench admiring his war medallion while being comforted by his wife, Olivia, making clear that he was refusing to back down, believing that no one could understand what it took to be Captain America. Attempting to recoup their losses in the courtroom, Walker was urged by his wife to refocus and prioritize reaching out to Lamar Hoskins' family about his death, hoping that consoling them will build up a better rapport with the general public. While conversing, the two were approached by a mysterious woman who introduced herself as Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. Fontaine explained to Walker that he was not punished for his killing of Nico, but for damaging the government's reputation. Walker learned from Fontaine that she was aware he took the serum and that powerful organizations were interested in him. Insisting that staying in contact with her would be the best decision of his life, Fontaine handed Walker a blank business card and told him that the shield never belonged to the government, all to his confusion. At night, Walker decided to visit Lamar Hoskins' family like his wife advised him to, in order to give them closure. Returning to Custer's Grove, he self-deludedly told them his falsified recollection of the event of Hoskins' death, claiming that he had been avenged now that he had killed Hoskins' murderer. Saddened after hearing him, Mrs. Hoskins gave him a picture of him and her son that Hoskins took after their first tour, and told him how proud Hoskins was to be his partner when he became Captain America. Inspired by this story, Walker made the decision to enact his true revenge on Carly Morgenthau. Walker then left the Hoskins household after feeling he gave them closure. However, he did not leave before telling them that he would be there for them if they needed him. While walking back home across the town, Walker noticed a promotional poster of himself as Captain America from back when he was endorsed by the United States government, which was still up by a bus stop. Taking the time to admire it, Walker thought back on his self-delusions that he was still truly Captain America, and to that end, returned home with an idea to create a new shield. Still embittered by his discharge and motivated by his partner's death, Walker returned home and forged his own version of Captain America's shield. He finished it by welding the medals he had won throughout his military career on the inner face of the shield and then painting the outer face in the colors of the American flag. Later that night, Walker arrived in New York City with his homemade shield to fight the Flag Smashers, with the specific intention of killing Carly Morgenthau. After walking up to them on the street and yelling Morgenthau's name, Morgenthau told him that Lamar Hoskins was not important to their cause, and so it wasn't an issue that he died, which infuriated Walker, further causing him to throw his shield at her. However, Morgenthau kicked the shield and it fell to the pavement. Walker then engaged the Flag Smashers in hand-to-hand combat. However, his enhanced strength was overmatched by the troop of super soldiers, who threw him to the ground. Using his homemade shield to block their blows, Walker looked at the star medals he put on the shield, which emboldened his resolve, and he fought back. Walker was ultimately saved by Winter Soldier, who arrived and knocked back the Flag Smashers. Walker then encountered Morgenthau alone and attacked her fiercely, but she managed to escape from him after knocking him to the ground. Seeing Flag Smasher ram the New York City Police Department vehicle containing GRC members into the construction site, Walker noticed that it was on the verge of falling over the ledge. Deciding that it was more important to save the innocent people, Walker threw his shield off the ledge and began to pull the vehicle back onto the ground, using his enhanced strength. However, Morgenthau and Davich ran up and tried to pull him away from the vehicle. Unfortunately, they pulled Walker forcibly from the vehicle and down off the ledge with them. Walker then fell onto the riverbank, where Winter Soldier helped him get up. They then watched as Captain America arrived and pushed the vehicle to safety. Walker then was saved again by Barnes, who grabbed a pole thrown at them by Morgenthau. He then witnessed Wilson's arrival and his use of the shield to knock the Flag Smashers to the ground. Walker then teamed up with Wilson and Barnes, having accepted that Wilson was the new Captain America. Before they could engage Morgenthau, George Badrock arrived and fired smoke bombs at the site, letting the Flag Smashers escape. After Walker, Barnes, and Wilson had escaped the smoke, they ran deeper into the construction site underneath the building. After Wilson received word from Sharon Carter, he suggested they split up. Walker and Barnes teamed up and ran down a separate corridor in the construction site. Barnes then used the phone given to him earlier to send a message to the Flag Smashers telling them where to meet, and they were able to track down Davich, Dee, and Gigi. Walker and Barnes then ambushed the three Flag Smashers and then watched as they were arrested by NYPD units, with Walker quoting Abraham Lincoln as they were being caught. Walker and Barnes then walked away from the site together, with Walker giving Barnes a friendly pat on the back and Barnes telling him not to quote Lincoln. Walker and Barnes then walked up to the street and watched as Wilson flew down carrying Morgenthau's dead body before the rescued GRC members and news reporters. Walker then listened as Wilson gave his speech as the new Captain America and respected Wilson's words. Afterwards, Walker said goodbye to Barnes and exchanged nods with Wilson before leaving New York City. Later, Walker and his wife Olivia reunited with Valentina Allegra de Fontaine at the United States Capitol, who gave him a new version of his suit. Walker donned the uniform, identical to his old one, but now black. As he stepped into the room in his new outfit, de Fontaine complimented him on the look, saying that the world was getting weirder and that people wouldn't need a Captain America, but rather a U.S. agent. De Fontaine said that she would be in touch before leaving. Walker, while skeptical of the name U.S. agent, celebrated with his wife that he was back in business as a superhero.